Okay, their Minister Pascal Smet, their Secretary General Sobchak, and their friends and colleagues, good morning. Thank you for joining in person and online this press conference introducing the first Brussels Urban Summit, which will be held in 10 days in Brussels. As the Press Club is a joint initiative of the International Press Association and the Brussels Capital Region, we are particularly honored to host this morning, this press conference on this global summit. So in 2018, the Press Club has been elected at the Worldwide Presidency of Press Clubs. In the framework of this, it's an association existing for 40 years. And in the framework of this presidency, we launched the World Press Club Alliance for Climate. And we are so particularly delighted as well to send invitation to this global network of press clubs around the world. So after opening remarks by Minister Pascal Smet, the Secretary of State of the Brussels Capital Region for European and International Relations, I will give the floor to the three main partners of the Brussels Summit, the Eurocities, Metropolis, and OECD. So I scheduled 5 minutes for my introduction. It's only 3, so you have 2 additional minutes. Minister, you can share. Huh? Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think we are pretty flexible on that. So thank you very much for being here. And yeah, exactly in something like 10 days, we will have, I can say, Andre, a historical moment, because for the very first time in human history, and we're going to exaggerate a little bit, we will have 3 big organizations and a 4th one, but the 3 big ones as main partners that will organize their annual or 3 annual conferences at the same place. And there will be Eurocities, Andre is here, Jordi is online, but also the OECD will be there, and we will organize the Brussels Urban Summit, which is a gathering of the 3 major city alliances, I can say that, of today. And we are doing it together with the Brussels Capital Region, which is for us quite logical, because as you know, Brussels is a diplomatic capital. We are a very international city. We strongly believe in city diplomacy, and well, the last years in Brussels, we are positioning ourselves like that. We are much more present on the world and European scale on that. And we strongly believe that, of course, the primary diplomatic relations will be between states, but it's always important, especially in difficult times, that cities continue to talk with each other on a human level, always human level, of course, with people to people, but also on a city government level to city government, and that we have to continue to do. So that's the reason why it is so important to do that, and so important that we can welcome and host in Brussels this big conference. And before I explain a little bit what's the conference about, I'm going immediately to see how happy we are, but a little bit of worry too, to be honest. When we started to do that, we say, okay, we will have 1,000 people, and then we will be very happy, because then we will have a big conference. And we know also that UCLG, the Union of Cities and Local Governments, will have the board meeting, so some people can come too. And we have the partnership of the European Commission and many others. But then during the organization, we saw that the interest was increasing of a lot of people who wanted to come and to join and do special sessions and things like that. And I can tell you today that we are at 2,100 people that want to come and will come, I hope, because they registered to Brussels, of which half of them are local government representatives, people from local governments. We have 200 of NGO, 200 of research and education world, something like 150 people who belong to the different networks of cities who are there, and 150 people who are coming from the private sector. But what is even more important about the figures I want to give is that we will have 600 cities present in Brussels, represented in Brussels, 600. We will have 118 countries that will be represented in Brussels. And also very important, and we are very happy with that, we will have more than 150 mayors that will be present in Brussels at that time in between the 12th and the 15th of June. And talking about the mayors, I want to give you some names. Of course, we will have the Secretary General of OECD, who is not a mayor, but he is an important guy, Matthias Cormann, Belgian somehow. He will be there. We will also, of course, have some European commissioners. Elisa Ferreira will be there. Johannes Hahn will be there. But we will also, the president of the European Investment Bank, Director Werner Schmidt will be there. Normally, we would have Ursula von der Leyen herself, because she really wanted to come, I think we should say. But unfortunately, as it happens with very, very important people, sometimes things go to the agenda and they have to be abroad. And so that is what is happening. But we will have, I'm just giving a few names, name drops like that, but there are many other important mayors that will be present. We will have Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris. We will have the mayor of Dakar. We will have the mayor of Ankara, of Barranquilla, the mayor of Rabat, of Kathmandu, Kampala, Stuttgart, Fukuoka, Stockholm, Braga, Glasgow, Athens, and many. Bogota will be there, Montevideo will be there. So we will have a lot of mayors all over the world. I think it's very important to say that this gathering is not a European gathering. Of course, Eurocities is there and it's European. We all know it and we're happy they are there, of course, but we have also Metropolis and OECD, and that is worldwide. So it is something that we really believed in too, because we believe that André and me, we share that, and the others too, is that there's a kind of European model of cities. And it's important when you're in a world gathering that we can explain and show what European cities is all about. And that's also the reason why we wanted to do it in Brussels, because we have, as you all know, and even the Americans noticed it with Bloomberg. I don't know if you saw the story. We have been transforming Brussels into a city for cars, into a city for people. We are not there yet, so I'm pretty much aware that we still have work to do, but we started and we are enhancing, and everybody I meet who says, oh, this city has changed the last year, so it's possible that you can change things. So a little bit more specific information. The whole concept is that we do every day a plenary session in the morning, and then we will have 25 workshops on a topic during the day. In the afternoon, basically, you will also have specific activities of every network, and of course there's some overlap because some cities will be a member of Eurocities and at the same time Metropolis, so people have to choose sometimes. We will do it in Square, which is a Congress Center in the heart of Brussels. We will have a welcome drink at the Royal Museum of Fine Arts. We will do a gala dinner, which is limited to 800 people. So we have 2,100 participants, so only selected people can join the dinner. We are so sorry for that, but it was really impossible to cater for 2,000 people. That would have been really crazy. So 800 is already a lot, but we will do that in the Gare Maritime at Tour et Taxi, which is a very beautiful example of a city regeneration project. And we will do at Friday night at Flagey. This is Brussels closing evening, open to the public, because of course the conference itself is open to people, but it's people who are related to alliances, cities and things like that. But the last evening, and André will participate too, we really want to have this evening for the people living in Brussels. So everybody is invited to come to Flagey, where we will talk a bit more about Brussels in an urban, global urban context. Of course, we will organize also urban visits in Brussels, where we will show different neighborhoods like the European neighborhood, the North District, the Art Nouveau, the Canal, pedestrian zone, all the things we've been doing. But there will be also city adventures going to Leuven, Ghent, and Antwerp so far. So that means that people can go and discover these other beautiful cities of Belgium, although much smaller than Brussels. So, but very beautiful and real cities with real nice experiences and real nice things that they have done. There are 3 themes on which we will work. It's inequality, migration, and climate change. We have chosen Metropolis, Eurocities, OECD, and us, these themes, because we really believe these are the big challenges that cities will have to face up the coming years. It's something that every city is confronted with, and it will become even more. Something is already very important today, but more, it will become more important in the future and more challenging in the future. I already said we have 3 networks: Eurocities, Metropolis, and OECD, but we have also a lot of partners. We have the European Commission, but also the city of Brussels. You know, Brussels is a little bit complicated with the region and the city. Not everybody understands it, so don't push too much time in it. But we work closely together today with the city and the region. And the mayor of Brussels, of the city of Brussels, will be a lot present too, and of course, Rudy Vervoort, the Minister President too, and colleagues of mine in the government too. We will have the Global Parliament of Mayors that will also be present and organize activities as a partner. UCLG, the Union of Cities and Local Governments, will organize their board meeting in Brussels, which is already 200 people, so that's already important network. We will have the Human Rights Cities Network that is a partner too. We have the Local Governments for Sustainability. We have the universities of the Free Universities of Brussels, VUB and ULB. So that's basically the facts I wanted to tell you. So the reason why we are doing this is just to inform you it's coming up, and that every journalist that is interested to meet mayors, to meet city makers, it's the place to be, and come and spend 1 week. And maybe one thing, but I cannot say a lot, there might be 2 surprise guests. So I'm not going to say anything about it, but just know if you come, you will have probably 2 surprise guests. We cannot announce, we cannot confirm it, definitely neither, but there is a possibility, let me say it like that we will have 2 big surprises coming up. So Andre knows already, so, but he has to shut up, and me too. So, but I'm just telling you that there might be something very interesting. So that's all what I want to say, and I'll give the floor to Andre of Eurocities.
Oh, to you? No. Please, Andre.
Yes,
from Eurocities.
Thanks a lot, Pascal, also for your personal commitment, because I think you were at the very beginning of this idea of bringing together different networks here in Brussels capital region to work together and to show that actually we are not competing with each other, but we are all working for our member cities and also for the broader society and for the planet. And I really would like to emphasize on the importance of bringing together so many people working in cities, with cities, for cities, because the different crises that we are currently living all over the world, they are dealt with by people in cities, mainly the mayors, the deputy mayors, the administrations, of course. When you think about the COVID crisis, it were cities that were on the front line, of course, to find the solutions. When we talk about the refugees from Ukraine, they come to the big cities mainly, so it's mayors that have managed to welcome them in their cities, to integrate them, to find places for schoolings. And when we talk about, obviously, climate change, it's also cities that are in the front line of finding the solutions. We all know that the vast majority of people today and tomorrow will live in cities, and it's there that we need to find the solutions. And actually, what we can see also is that national governments sometimes struggle to find the right solutions, because sometimes they have not the logistical tools actually to find the solutions. Maybe they have delegated too many of their powers also to other actors, and cities are actually the ones that are close to citizens, so they see what are the challenges, what are the needs, and they have to find the solutions, because people, citizens, but also small and medium-sized companies, civic society, they come to see the mayor and they want him to bring up a solution. They cannot, the mayors cannot say, we are setting up a committee and we are going to discuss with experts and so on, and then we are coming back maybe in a few months with a report on the solution. No, they have to find the solution right now. And Pascal mentioned the different subjects that we are going to discuss. If I think about inequalities in the world, I think obviously about a lot of UK cities, for example, Birmingham, that has developed a lot of initiatives to fight against the food inequalities and to take care of children that often, if they are coming from poorer families, they are eating too much fast food. And the city has worked a lot on educating not only the children, but also teachers and parents in order to change things, and also to put in some regulations about avoiding too many advertisements on fast food close to schools, something very concrete that can really have an impact. The second subject is about migration. And of course, I think about Warsaw, for example, that is hosting a lot of refugees from Ukraine, and that they had to be very innovative to find housing for the different people, solutions, putting in classes for the children, finding jobs and activities. So again, they are in the front line. And about climate change, I think about the mayor of Athens, who will be in our meeting, who, for example, appointed recently chief heat officer, taking into account all the different elements in order to prepare for the heat waves that will come to his city on a very concrete way, on trying to see how actually they can build more parks, how they can make sure that, for example, elderly people find cool places in the city and so on. So it's very concrete solutions. And the Brussels Urban Summit will be the place where actually mayors, deputy mayors, and people working in cities can have the opportunity to exchange their practices and their challenges as well, and learn from each other. And I'm quite convinced that if that is the case, there will be new solutions coming up in Brussels during this event. And this is really what we would like to see. And as Pascal also mentioned, we want also to give a signal to national, European, and international actors of governance that they need to have cities around the table when they make the decisions, because sometimes, and maybe also when we have crisis, there is a certain need of urgency, and sometimes national governments or even the European institution then think, okay, we have to move very fast and we cannot waste our time by asking the opinion of city leaders. And I think we all, with the 3 networks and Brussels Capital Regions, are convinced that this is a huge mistake, because actually you need to take into account from the very beginning the experience, the competences, the skills of city leaders to make better decisions, rather than to take any kind of theoretical decisions and then see that on the ground it doesn't work. So this is really also the message that we would like to give. And one of the areas is also city diplomacy, also for foreign policy, where maybe you don't think really about the role of cities. But if we see about the situation in Turkey, for example, Eurocities has been very strong to support the mayor of Istanbul, and to say that it's important that we give a signal also that the rule of law has to be respected all over the world, and that city leaders can show the solidarity, of course, for Ukraine as well. We went last year with our president, Mayor of Florence, Dario Nadella, and 7 other mayors to see President Zelensky in Ukraine. And I remember very well when President Zelensky said, I need you, the mayors, because you are close to citizens and you can explain to citizens that it's worth to stand by Ukraine, even if there is the energy crisis. So this is really important. And just to conclude, a last word, there are a lot of different interesting events. And there's also a very important event for Eurocities, of course. It's our General Assembly. So we will change also our president at that moment. And we will give, during the gala dinner with 800 guests, the Eurocities Awards, which is also, we are quite proud to have the opportunity to show it also to an international public of city leaders. The best solutions from European cities about very important things like what are the best solutions for the energy crisis, what cities have done, what also cities are doing to allow young people to create public space. We all think about the future and younger generation, it's very important. And also the best solutions regarding the integration of migrants in our cities. So very exciting events, and you can learn a lot from cities that are present at the Brussels Urban Summit. And again, I'm very happy that Brussels Capital Region took the initiative even before I arrived, and also before Jordi from Metropolis arrived. And I'm looking forward that it's only the first time that we are working together, and I'm sure that there can be a lot of synergies, and cities are asking us as networks, of course, to work together and to have maybe less events, but bigger events, even if it's a huge challenge. And really thank you for Brussels Capital Regions to manage to host so many people here. But I think it makes sense because it creates more opportunities for learning and discussing together. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Andre, for your remark on behalf of Eurocities. I will now give the floor to Jordi Vaquer from Metropolis, and he's online. Jordi?
Hello, good morning.
The floor is yours.
Good morning. Hello from Barcelona. I'm Jordi Vaquer, Secretary General of Metropolis, the global network for large cities and metropolitan areas. Our is a network or an association of cities that are, most of them above 1 million. And they come together around a couple of ideas that are very important to us. One is the metropolitan idea. The shape of cities is not what it used to be. We no longer live in cities that are distinct and separated from their surroundings, but cities that spread into the countryside, nature areas, and they're formed by mosaics of interconnected territories. So we work very much with this metropolitan perspective, and also the idea of quality of life, because big cities are great. They provide connectivity, they provide innovation, jobs, creativity, many good things, but the quality of life in big cities is not always universally great. So cities come together in Metropolis to look at better ways of providing this quality of life in large metropolitan spaces. And who we are also defines a little bit what we bring to the Brussels Urban Summit. The Brussels Urban Summit is where our Congress will take place. And so we will have a very a good selection of our membership, which includes large cities from all over the world, in particular from Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East, which will be participating in our activities, but also megacities, cities like Sao Paulo, Johannesburg, like Seoul, Guangzhou in China, Bogota, Jakarta, Istanbul, all those cities with over 10 million. And this is important because those cities have to be central part to the global discussions on urban affairs. Often we find that some of the cities of that size, they go their own way, and they have such specific weight. Sometimes their GDP is as large as some countries in the world, that keeping them connected to big events like this one, to the places where all of the urban actors are discussing, is an important mission that Metropolis fulfills. So Pascal Smet was talking about the contents of this Congress, and I wanted to mention a couple of things. One is, this is one of the first large city events after the pandemic. For about 1 year, we've been having some of these events, but still some countries, for example, China, have been in lockdown until relatively recently in terms of international travel. And what that means is only now we're starting to perceive at a global scale what's happened and how things have changed in the global scale. And one of the issues that has changed, and that cities are discussing a lot more, and that we will be bringing actually to the Congress, is the importance of care and caregiving in the life of cities. So the pandemic revealed that caregivers are an important part of the fabric of the city, both workers and also people, very often, very, very often women at home, sustaining all this care load. But there are not many public policies that take this into account and that are really there to support this care work, recognize it, and also make sure it's properly rewarded and supported from the public services. So care and caregiving is going to be an important topic that we're bringing under the leadership of our current president, Mayor Claudia Lopez of Bogota, who has been one of the recognized as a global leader on these issues. We're also bringing another topic, adding to those that Andre and Pascal have been mentioning, is the topic of science in the cities. How science needs to be used and integrated in the planning, in the scenarios, and in the everyday management of cities. We saw how science was challenged during the COVID crisis, how there was a very direct attack on sound scientific advice taken on evidence. And that is a risk not only for public health, It's a risk for our fight against climate change, for all sorts of management that are directly informed by scientific evidence. So we're bringing this debate. How do we bring science to the center, but also how do we bring citizens along in this effort to make sure that the best evidence is informing our policy making in the cities, especially in the large cities of the world, but also elsewhere. And finally, we're also working on or bringing another topic that has not been mentioned, which is that of nature-based solutions in cities. More and more cities are trying to find in their in the old features of the land that they occupy, the solutions to their current challenges. Some of them deriving from the climate crisis, some of them deriving from the actual makeup of the cities. Think, for example, of global south cities, where in some cases over 60% of the territory has not been planned, but it has been settled informally. And these informal settlements come up with huge challenges of resilience, huge challenges of health, of welfare, and others. And very often the solutions are very simple and are simply going back to nature, bringing trees back into cities, restoring wetlands, restoring natural features, ecological corridors, making space for pollinators in cities. So this old idea that cities and nature are different things or opposite poles is very much challenged around the world. We're even working to make an announcement in this area, get our cities to commit very concretely to a strong action, because we know that nature-based solutions are addressing both ends of the climate change. So they are reducing the causes of climate change, but also they are mitigating the effects of climate change. And they are also at the same time creating mental health, safer streets, cleaner air, welfare, and also, and it has been mentioned in the case of Athens, but other cities also have heat strategies. It's reducing the heat island effect, which is, for example, these days very badly felt in Chinese cities in the current heat wave. I did want to mention a session that we're organizing with United Cities and Local Governments and Eurocities in solidarity with the Turkish cities that were very badly affected by the earthquake at the beginning of this year. They are no longer in the news, but the challenges of reconstruction and of resilient reconstruction, so that the disaster that we lived at the beginning of this year will not be repeated. Those challenges are very much alive, and the mayors of some of these cities will be present. They will be sharing their experiences directly with other mayors, also with cities that have had important earthquakes and have recovered from them, like Zagreb or Athens or Istanbul. And the Turkish cities themselves will be talking very directly. Their own mayors will be sharing their experience. So this is a very exciting moment for Metropolis, our annual Congress, and to do this in connection with the OECD Champion Mayors for Inclusive Growth, many of whose members lead our member cities. To do this close to Eurocities and to do it in Brussels is important for us. For us, it's important not only because Brussels is a convenient international hub, but also because the city and the capital region are very innovative in some of the policy areas that we will be discussing. And so there's a lot of our learnings that will not be happening in sessions, but actually happening in the city itself. We want our delegates to walk the streets of Brussels to understand efforts in pedestrianization, in housing, in rehabilitation of some urban areas, and we want them to see it with their own eyes. So having said this, just like Andrea, I thank the hosts for the efforts until now, and I would like to encourage you all to come, attend, mingle with the delegates, but also listen to our sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordi Vaquer, for your remarks and presentation. We will stay online for the presentation by Aziza Akmouche, the Head of Division Cities, Urban Policies and Sustainable Development of the OECD, and Shane McClellan, the Communication and Public Relation Manager of OECD. Please, Aziza.
Thank you very much. And let me start building on what my colleagues from Eurocities and Metropolis said upfront by commending on Pascal Smith and Mayor Close for hosting us, convening us, and showcasing what partnership in practice means through this Brussels Urban Summit, not only for the seamless preparatory process up to now, but also for really the real case experience that brings together organizations that are used to working with mayors, used to convening mayors to solve pressing challenges, and thereby not only making economies of scale and scope, but also cross-fertilizing knowledge. And I have to say, it's been a great experience so far. We look forward to the summit. I would also like to thank Pascal and the Brussels team for leading by example themselves and for opening the books. You did insist that this is a joint effort across the capital regions and the city of Brussels. And there is also in parallel a similar partnership that is underway as part of the Brussels Capital Region Metropolitan Review that the OECD is currently undertaking, and that should come to the public stage later this year. And that, as Jordi just said, showcases very interesting initiatives that the city and capital region are doing to embrace these new paradigm shifts in the post-COVID world and fit for the future, so to say, especially in this multi-crisis environment. A few words maybe on the rationale for the OECD to join that effort and what we have in the pipeline for the Brussels Summit itself, and then I'll hand over to my colleague Shane so he says a bit more on the communication specifics and the arrangements for the press. Three main expectations, I would say, or rationale for OECD to join this big effort. The first one is that, as you know, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is an economic organization and thereby has been very vocal in the past few years on the critical role of cities as engines of growth, but also drivers of well-being to help national governments solve the most pressing problems that we're facing today and fit for the future. And making that economic case that goes beyond GDP to rethink the attractiveness of our cities in the future has kept us very busy, in particular in the post-pandemic context. And as rightly said earlier, in this multi-crisis environment whereby mayors wake up in the morning having to fix very concrete problems such as traffic congestion, air pollution, housing affordability, solid waste and drinking water management and security, but also having to embrace very costly and sometimes sources of anxiety, global transformations that are induced by climate change and biodiversity collapse, by the digital revolution, by globalization and shifting economic power itself, and the discontent that this is generating on top of the demographic pressure that we all know, whether it's aging or shrinking or migration, so to say. And so I think that economic case is something that we are very much vocal about at the OECD, that making savings on a number of urban development issues is actually false economies, because you end paying it somehow in terms of well-being for citizens. The second rationale for us as an intergovernmental organization that is working with mayors, but also primarily with national governments, is to say that a lot of these challenges are not going to be fixed by either local or national constituencies, and that we really need to join forces and to have a partnership and a shared responsibility for many of the issues that I've just emphasized. And we'll dive within the Brussels Urban Summit on the inequality conversation in particular. And this is where we see the extent to which mayors and local leaders are driving the determinants of a lot of inequality outcomes, whether they relate to health or other dimensions. But national governments also have, regardless of levels of decentralization, an essential role to play to set the enabling environment, to help catalyze the funding, to align policy priorities and so on. So this local national dialogue is very important to us. It would be an illusion to think that mayors or ministers can solve the magnitude of the challenge on their own. And then the third and last point that is very important for the OECD is that this Brussels Urban Summit actually is not an end in itself, but becomes almost the beginning of something, and that a number of commitments, concrete commitments to take action stem out of these gatherings and conversations between mayors. And as far as we're concerned, we're having over 60 mayors, members of the Champion Mayors Initiative for Inclusive Growth at the OECD, sign off and endorse a Brussels blueprint for affordable cities and housing for all that is really going to shape their work plan all together to find common solutions to common problems in the coming years. Now, we'll do three very concrete things. To be brief, we are leading one of the plenaries that Pascal mentioned on inequality and social contract renewal. That's the first plenary actually happening on the 13th of June from 10:30 to 12, where we'll have the Secretary General of the OECD, but also mayors from cities such as Bristol, Glasgow, Bratislava, Barranquilla, and make sure that we open this conversation on how to go beyond GDP, how to mitigate a number of downsides that the energy price increase, the cost of living increase are generating in cities, but also how to rethink over the long term this issue of inequality, because this is really the social and economic bomb that many countries are actually facing today and sometimes putting under the carpet, so to say. We'll have in the afternoon of 13th June a closed door meeting of OECD Champion Mayors for Inclusive Growth. This is a coalition that was set up 5 years ago that brings over 60 mayors from different cities across the globe that range from Paris to Bogota, but also Gaziantep in Turkey recently, where we had fascinating peer-to-peer exchanges on disaster risk reconstruction and management. And this coalition is going to meet, as I said, in a closed-door fashion to discuss more specifically issues that relate to the cost of living and the housing crisis. Housing as a means to socioeconomic mobility, housing as a means to well-being at large, and share very concrete solutions on that front. And then we'll have a third set of activities that are more workshops that will take place on the 14th in the afternoon. One on the new geography of work and what this is implying for the cities of the future in the hybrid remote working environment, on intermediary cities, attractiveness in particular, and the other one on the revival of city centers in this post-COVID context that, as I said, is keeping us busy. So we have, as I said, the Brussels blueprint as the outcome. We've done extensive work also to document housing trends and the housing affordability trends in OECD countries in particular. And there are a few arrangements. I hand over the floor now to Shane to complement for press and media in particular. Very much looking forward to being there with you all in a few days.
Thanks, Aziza, as am I, of course, to be in Brussels very shortly. Just to say that we're going to, yes, distribute a number of those materials, those elements that Aziza spoke about, including the blueprint, a new paper with a lot of the new OECD data and analysis regarding the impacts of the cost of living crisis and how that relates to urban policies. Just a few specific points for journalists who will be present and who want to meet up with some of the mayors, some of the distinguished people that will be involved in the three different efforts that the OECD will be making at the Brussels Urban Summit. So, of course, the meeting between mayors and city leaders, and we're happy to say we've got nearly 40 of those people involved for the first time since 2019, before the pandemic, of course, which is really quite exciting. We're really enthusiastic about that. Those people, those distinguished participants will be available from 5:50 in the afternoon until 6 o'clock and after on the 13th of June. So we've got Mayor Dagur Eggertsen of Reykjavik, who's the chair of the OECD Champion Mayors Initiative. We also have Mr. Takuchi, who is the OECD Deputy Secretary General. So they'll be available from 5:50 in the afternoon on the 13th of June. And then, in fact, the mayors and city leaders from 6 o'clock on the same day following that meeting will be available for journalists to hold interviews with. So yeah, just to briefly sum up, we'll be distributing a number of the materials, new OECD data and analysis, the Brussels Blueprint for Affordable Cities, Housing for All, and then to say that, you know, we'll be available to put together interviews for you journalists present in Brussels. Looking forward to meeting you.
Thank you, Shane. Just regarding following your Shane's remarks, I would like to add that the Press Club will put at the media disposal during the entire Brussels Urban Summit a fully equipped studio, permitting with everything you need to record and high quality recordings, interview and live streaming. So this Brussels Urban Summit studio will be located at Square Brussels. And this media studio, Leo, can you put the features camera allowing you to record on different angles with a custom backdrop? Well, this is the backdrop, and we invite you to proceed via the Urban Summit website with your media accreditation, and to contact directly our professional team to make a booking of the studio. So Mr. Pascal Smith, I give you the floor for closing remarks and the announce of a third mysterious guest star.
No.
Okay. No.
So you heard it's going to be a thrilling, thriving and exciting week. I hope to see you all. Maybe one thing I want to say more is that since we are an international capital and hosting a lot of international organizations, the Commissioner for our relations with the European Union will also host a city event where all the capital cities that host international organizations will come together to share things. And then I heard them, I don't know how you say that in English, but it's a kind of bird flying that was saying, you know, we have a partnership with Politico. And some people thought that that only Politico could do interviews. That's not the case. So there is a partnership with Politico, but that doesn't mean that other press can't do interviews. There will be a lot of people, so it will be open to everybody, so everybody can talk with everybody. No worries about that. So that's the thing I wanted to put straight, that it's open to all the media so that everybody can. And I hope to see you all there, because it's a unique opportunity to talk with city leaders, academics about the city issues, and we know we have a lot of international press here in Brussels. So come and meet, and so then you have to travel less. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, André, and see you soon at the Brussels Urban Summit in the next 10 days. Thank you.